Wow. Thank you, Jody. This is, we are truly blessed to have some superior musical talent that comes and visits us here at Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. And on behalf of the fellowship, I extend a warm welcome to everyone. At UUFDC, we celebrate diverse beliefs and backgrounds, spiritual growth, intellectual inquiry, and creative expression. We actively care for the well-being of the larger community, are stewards of the earth, and promote equity and justice for all. We are pleased to host today's, yeah. Sorry, when you read from the template, it gets a little lost. So this is the first Sunday. Oh, by the way, I'm Mark Richards. I'm your service leader today. This is the first Sunday of September, and in fellowships and congregations across the country, they are holding homecoming Sundays, where people are returning from their summer adventures and gathering again and reestablishing connection. Door County is one of those places they return from. But if you are visiting with us today, we invite you to linger through the late summer and early fall. For many of us, this is the best that Wisconsin has to offer. If you are a visitor, our tradition is to invite you to identify yourself, tell us where you're from, what brings you here today, a little bit more about yourself. So please, if you will, stand, and we'd like to get to know you.
My name is Tim Guyden. I just moved to Egg Harbor. I'm the 359th person, so look for the sign. If the village doesn't take care of that, I may be out there with my Sharpie one day. Making sure that I am counted. I moved here. I lived in Fond du Lac in another lifetime, and I used to come up here and think, boy, would this be a wonderful place to live, but gee, Tim, you could never do that. And I find myself in a position where I can. So as far as UUs, about 45 years ago, a couple of my mentors started saying, Tim, you need to find yourself a UU church, that's where you belong. And about a year ago, I found one in Michigan and loved it. And
Cool.
then had to move, and I was so happy to see that there's a presence here. So,
Excellent. Well, welcome.
I may be more than you want to hear.
That's plenty. Who else?
Hi, I'm Marie Davidiak. I'm a UU from Rochester, Minnesota. I've come to your services several times before. My husband and I are here on vacation. We come to Door County every year. We love it here. It's a beautiful place. And just love the building and the welcomeness that I receive every time I come here. You're a very nice congregation.
Well, welcome.
I'm Sue Haug. I'm a member of First Unitarian Society in Madison, and we communicate regularly about postcards.
Oh, hi, Sue.
So it's great to be here on this vacation with you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
I'm Diane Ramirez. I'm born in Milwaukee, live in Austin, Texas, but have the joy of coming to visit my parents live in Sister Bay frequently, and then the added joy of coming here. So a frequent visitor and very welcoming congregation. And the most recent reason for this visit, because we summer here every year from Austin, my middle daughter just got married up here 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
And only 10 people live in Wisconsin. 4 from Sister Bay. Everybody came from all parts of everywhere, and Mexico and even other places, and they were just felt very well received by everybody. So it's a joy to be
Well,
here.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So now there are announcements written on the back of your order of service. If you want to take a look at those, if there are other announcements having to do with the fellowship or the greater community, Cindy will bring the microphone around.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Jane Wise. I really, again, just want to thank Maria and her child care center students for selling their wonderful creative things that they brought last week. I couldn't be here. And I don't know if everybody read the e-blast, but it was worth $200 to our food fund. So that was wonderful. And thank you, everyone who brings food. I just wanted to let you know, when you put food in the food fund can, we buy frozen things like vegetables. I buy butter and put it in the freezer because they need butter to make all that macaroni and cheese. I'm not sure why there's always that macaroni and cheese there, but we buy some bread. We might buy some pizzas, things like that. So you're really, really being helpful. And we also use it to buy Ensure for our senior members in the community. So thank you very much. Again, this week there was no cereal, there were no snacks. There was tuna, but it goes pretty quickly. There was no canned fruit. So whatever you bring is very appreciated by the community. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy. So our chalice lighting, Al Johnson will light our chalice for us. And these words by Reverend Suzelle. We live immersed in eternity, embraced by beauty, surrounded by the sure presence of love. Every day is a chance to lift our eyes to the infinite sky, to open our ears to the wind's music, to taste the cool waters, touch the silk of our skin, and feel the rush of our blood circling within us. What a wonder life is. What a wonder we are. We light this chalice for these gifts, being human, being of the good earth, and being awake in this moment. Now I invite you to stand as you are willing and able to join in hymn number 1012 in the Teal hymnal called When I Am Frightened. I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, and I will learn to care as you do, then I may learn to care. I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love. And please remain standing for the unison affirmation and the doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. From all that dwell below the skies, let hopes of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, in every land, by every tongue. So this fellowship is a place where we come to share our stories. And now we share our stories of joy and our stories of concern, so that we may be uplifted in our joy and we may share burden with our concerns. And Cindy will bring the microphone around to.
My name is Wilma Van Aragon, and I have a big joy to share. As many of you might know, we announced it last week that we had a retreat at our house for my group, We Can Lead Change, out of the western suburbs of Chicago. And we're a grassroots organization that formed after the 2016 election. We found out about a week ago that one of our local country clubs was hosting a group called the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance, which has been designated as a militant hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. We found out they were hosting Stuart Rhodes. If you know that name, he was part of the January 6th insurrection, and they were hosting him at this country club. Well, we found out about it. There was a grassroots uprising, peaceful protests, lots of letters, emails, calls to the country club, and the event was canceled. We met with the chair or the grand poobah of the country club, and he promised us that that group would no longer be allowed to meet there at any time. A big victory for us, small voices, big results.
Excellent.
Yes.
Hi, Lynn Lees. I bring you greetings from Mona Simpson. She's at home, out of rehab with her fractured femur. Her son from Eau Claire stayed with her, recently left to get back to work. Her son from Texas is with her now. So she says hi. And thank you for all her messages.
I'm Mary Rainsmone, and I have sadness. My middle sister, Jane, died on Friday from complications with rheumatoid arthritis, which destroyed her lungs. She's 75. They took her to Mayo, and there they discovered she also had COVID. She did not have a chance. They had put her on a ventilator and took her off a couple days later, and that was it. So that we didn't have any notice it happened so quickly. On the bright side, my daughter, Laura, whom I have mentioned a couple of times because she's been going through a difficult divorce, will be soon 2 years, she has fallen in with Democrats.
Oh my God.
And she is, I have never seen her so happy. She has meaning to her life, and she's working for our country. And Democrats are fun, too.
Hi, I'm Jackie Polson. This morning as I pulled out my woolly sweater for the change of seasons, I remembered this beautiful heart pin that Peggy gave me when we were in Sicily in February. It is a work of art by Julia Brezhnehan, who was a member of our congregation. Her artistic spirit inspired all of us, and we miss her. Then I started thinking, the German term Jahreszeit, the year after somebody has passed, came to mind. And my husband will have been dead 3 years this month. And so I'm thinking of Donald Polzin. He loved doing a sermon every summer for this congregation. The last one he did, Susan Leader was the service leader. And she brought monarch butterflies, hoping they would emerge during the service. And so I think it's just time to honor those people we've lost who gave us so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Bob Lindahl, and I just wanted to bring a little word about our beloved friend and often pastor here, Phil Sweet. Phil has had some recurring health issues for a while now. Phil was at Mayo a month or so ago, and seemingly came through some surgery quite well. But not too soon after going home, ended up in the Veterans Hospital in Madison for some further tests. And Phil is there, and I spoke to him last, early in the week, and they have a long road, and he's has had extensive tests. They're expecting results early this week. Talked to Sharon this morning. They don't really know what to expect, but they do intend, very hopeful that they can bring Phil home this week. His daughters are both there, and son will be coming. But at any rate, I don't think it's time to call there, but certainly cards and emails, and we'll ask Sarah to post those for us so that you have them at easy access. But cards and emails, and let's just try this week to well, as long as we have to shower Sharon and Phil and that family and show them all the love that we can as a congregation. The other congregation, the church he pastored for so long in Sturgeon Bay is aware, and now I'm just making us aware now. So let's, and we can step up as a congregation and make sure that they both know how much we love and care. Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi, Gwen Grayboys. I want to just tag on to the monarch story. I have for many years wanted to watch one emerge, and I've never quite made it, even setting a timer for every 10 minutes and running and looking at the black chrysalis. Well, Friday, when they finished my solar panels, though they're not working, I was folding laundry at the dining room table with the VRBO for my monarch right there next to me, and I finally got to see it emerge. It was 3 minutes and 15 seconds, that's all it took for it to come out, and then another couple hours to stretch its wings. But I want to thank my entomologic mentor for keeping me going.
All right, well, thank you for all of that. So, fellowship like this requires a little bit from everybody. Requires our wisdom, our work, and our wealth. And now is the time to give up the wealth. The ushers will wait on you for your gifts. Now I invite you to center yourself. Close your eyes or open them as you will, but enter into a moment of silence so that we may prepare for the message by Reverend Suzelle. So our speaker today is Reverend Suzelle Lynch. She is retired a couple of years ago from UU Church West in Brookfield, also served churches around the country. I think I met you after your retirement. Not sure. But she has graciously welcomed me into the UU clergy here in Wisconsin, and I am appreciative of all of her encouragement. And I'm sure she'll have a great message for us today. We begin with a reading by James Cruz called Impermanence. The things you make were never meant to stay. The clay pot breaks into pieces in your hands for no other reason than the fact that it exists. The poem you wrote, carried in a stranger's pocket, folded and unfolded so many times your name has faded from the page. Yet everything leaves an imprint, even when you must let it go. Shut it down, deadbolt the door, and close the drapes one final time. The love you gave still lives on, stirring like dust in a hidden corner of someone's heart, slight rustle of warmth that reminds them anything is possible.
Good morning. It's good to be here with you this Sunday. And thank you, Mark. When I was a little girl, my mother used to read me stories and tell me stories, so many, and I loved them. Some of them were classic fairy stories or folk tales like Cinderella or Hansel and Gretel. Some were stories born from her imagination, and others were from her family, like the story of the time her grandmother taught her to swear in Finnish. She then taught my sisters and me. Mom's stories helped me learn. They helped me feel connected to a world greater than the one I inhabited every day. They connected me to a world of literature, history, archetypes, and mythology, and perhaps a little magic too. And once I learned to read, I could hardly do it fast enough to satisfy my great hunger for stories. Why were the stories so important? Well, they held a particular kind of wisdom that I needed then, a kind of wisdom we all need now. Stories are a doorway to archetypes and myths that offer guidance for life's journey. They inscribe a pattern and a pathway and a practice in our hearts and our minds, something we can follow in good times and in hard times. So I have a story to tell you now. This is a story about King Solomon, who, as some of us may remember, was the favorite son of the Hebrew King David. Ancient folk literature mentions Solomon perhaps more than any other person of his time than Alexander the Great. Yet much of the material about Solomon in the Hebrew and Christian traditions uses him as an example to make other people look good. Some traditions say that Solomon wrote 3 of the books of the Bible. They say that in his youth, he wrote the love poem, the Song of Songs, and that he wrote the book of Proverbs in middle age, and that in his old age, he was feeling the futility of life and wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. Mostly what we know about Solomon is that he was wise and that he was humble enough to ask his God to give him wisdom. Wisdom beyond knowledge or truth, the wisdom to understand how knowledge and truth apply to real life. So our story today is one of many that explain how Solomon became so wise. So the captain of Solomon's guard was a man named Benaiah. And Benaiah served the king with all his heart, and he took great pride in never failing to do what King Solomon asked of him. So one day, King Solomon overheard Benaiah say to his soldiers, "I can accomplish any task, no matter how difficult, any task that King Solomon sets before me." Well, Solomon was bothered by this. He thought Benaiah was boasting. How can he be so arrogant? Solomon asked himself. I'll show him. I'll give him an impossible task. Then he will boast no more. Solomon called Benaiah to his side. "My heart," he said, "my heart longs to own a certain magical ring. Go, Benaiah, and obtain it for me." Benaiah bowed low and he smiled broadly and he said, "Your wish is my command, sire. Describe the ring and I will set forth immediately." King Solomon's eyes twinkled with mischief. He commanded, "Benaiah, bring me the ring that can make a happy person sad and a sad person happy." Well, Benaiah had never heard of such a thing, but he was glad to be given an important task by his beloved king. He said, "I will search the whole wide world, if I must, to bring you this magic ring," and he set off on his quest. Imagine a ring that could change happiness into sadness and vice versa. What would you do with such a thing? I'd like to think that I would use it mostly to make sad people happy. But what if I was really angry with someone and used it to make them sad? What if I used it on some of our politicians? Would that be ethical? But even if the ring were used only to bring happiness, would that be a good thing? Less than happy feelings are often what motivate us to grow and to change, right? Are we really meant to be happy all the time? We'll get back to that. In the meantime, our friend Benaiah set off early the next day for the marketplace. He visited every goldsmith in Jerusalem and all the silversmiths as well. He set forth to meet the caravans that traveled in from afar. But none of those dealers in gold or silver or jewels had ever heard of a ring that could make a sad person happy or a happy person sad. Benaiah himself was still feeling pretty happy as he went about his quest. Many years ago, in a book called The Conquest of Happiness, British mathematician and philosopher Bertrand Russell wrote that we find happiness by discovering what we most desire, acquiring that which we desire as much as possible, and learning to be indifferent to our inevitable failures and deficiencies. Because Benaiah loved to serve his king, he was in his element on this quest. But soon, the days of searching became weeks, and the weeks passed into months. Benaiah still was meeting every caravan that passed by and visiting every ship that sailed into port. He sought out jewelers far and wide. But no one had ever heard of a ring with the magical powers that King Solomon desired. Benaiah's resolve began to falter. It seemed as though he would fail to do what the king had asked of him. He became downhearted and miserable. The day before the deadline for him to bring the ring to King Solomon, Benaiah went once again to the city marketplace. Distraught and worried, he searched the jewelry stalls one more time. No success. As he trudged sadly along the road home, he passed by a ragged young boy who had set out some simple jewelry on a rug by the side of the road. He passed him by, but then he stopped and he thought, well, I can leave no stone unturned. The king is counting on me. So he went back to the boy and he looked down at him and he said, do you have a magical ring that can make a sad person happy and a happy person sad? What do you think? What'd the boy say? The boy said, no, I have no such ring. Benaiah's heart sank. Now he was certain he'd failed. But the boy's grandfather stepped out from the shadows and he said, perhaps I have the ring that you want. The old man reached into his pocket and handed a plain gold band to Benaiah. At first, Benaiah was confused, but when he looked closer, he could see that there was something inscribed on the ring. As he read what was there, his face spread with a smile. Yes, he said triumphantly, this is the very ring I've been seeking. The next day, Benaiah entered King Solomon's court. A feast was in progress, and King Solomon was in a jolly mood, laughing with his guests. He saw Benaiah come in and said to himself, I won't let him suffer long in his humiliation. After he admits he was unable to find the ring, I'll tell him that I gave him that impossible task to humble him because I heard him boasting. But to Solomon's surprise, Benaiah bowed before him, ring in hand. Solomon took the ring, but his cheerful smile vanished as soon as he read the letters inscribed on that ring. What was written on the ring? Making a happy person sad would seem to involve taking something away from them, taking away a fulfilled desire or adding hardship to their lives. And giving a sad person something that they greatly long for or need could certainly make them happy, right? But is this really true? Our Buddhist friends would remind us that we swim in an ocean of desires. Fulfilled desires bring us happiness, but then we get attached to having what we desire, and we begin to want more of it, and we become fearful that we'll lose it. And our greed and our fear close our hearts. Thus, what makes us happy is the root of our suffering. For example, says the Venerable Thich Thien An, a Buddhist teacher, we are most conspicuously attached to our bodies. When someone threatens the body, we grow anxious and try to protect it. We relish physical comforts and the enjoyment of the senses, but this attachment is a source of suffering, for the body is constantly changing. Moment after moment, the body is passing from youth to old age, from life toward the end of life. We are attached not only to our bodies, but also to our possessions. We weave continually a net of clinging around our clothes, our house, our wealth. We're also attached to memories concerning the past or anticipations about the future. Thich Thien An continues, Buddhism teaches us to extinguish attachment so that we may discover the state of absolute freedom. Well, the inscription on the magic ring was an excellent attachment extinguisher. It was a doorway, an unexpected doorway to absolute freedom. The simple gold ring was engraved with the Hebrew letters Gimel, Zayin, and Yud, which stand for the saying Gamza Ya'avor, which means in English, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. As Solomon looked at the ring, he realized that the comfort and grandeur of his life as king would someday be gone, and he went from feeling jolly to feeling sad. Yet he knew that those very same words would bring comfort and even joy to those who were struggling with misfortune or grief or illness. This too shall pass. It was indeed the magical ring he had asked for. So what do you suppose King Solomon did then? His desire to humble Benaiah had been totally thwarted. He'd been rudely reminded of his own mortality and the impermanence of his wealth and happiness. He was filled with sadness. He had good reason to be angry. The great Jewish theologian Martin Buber once wrote, "Every man should have 2 pockets, and in one pocket he should carry the words, 'I am but ashes and dust.' And in the other pocket, he should carry the words, 'For me, this universe was created.'" This is a way to live our lives well, balanced between our knowledge of our human finitude and our knowledge that we each contain a spark of the divine. Bertrand Russell echoes this in his own way, saying that the way of happiness for human beings involves cultivating a balance between dedicated but reasonable effort and resignation to life's inevitable humiliations and limitations. And so, because King Solomon was indeed wise, and because real wisdom means understanding the limits of human knowledge and cultivating a sense of awe for the vast reaches of mystery, Solomon thanked Benaiah for his service, and he wore the magic ring for all the remaining days of his life. Like so many folk stories, this story about King Solomon's ring offers that pattern and pathway and a place to pause and reflect. In our lives right now, any kind of balance is hard to achieve. In part because as we confront the incredible immoral gyrations and democracy and economy destroying actions of our current president and his cronies, many of us find ourselves teetering between hope and despair, or between denial and dread. This too shall pass is a fulcrum for our fulminations. It's a difficult place to be. We're in a difficult place. For even as we long desperately for a return to normalcy, we may also be struggling to find actions we can take that might help us get there, whatever there is. I would say that perhaps what we need to do first is to grieve, lament all that is being destroyed. And then, perhaps, we need to stand toe to toe with the uncertainty and look it in the eye. Not because we can intimidate it or solve it, but because it allows us to simply be where we are right now. And that is the place from which we can move into action. Because this too shall pass doesn't give us permission to give up. It doesn't give us permission to go numb or just wait because things will change. That's kind of the old meaning of the phrase. Oh yeah, this too shall pass. I'll just wait it out. It's not what we're talking about here. This too shall pass is a place of balance we can hold as we answer the call to be present to the people in our lives and to love them, even if they don't agree with us. It's a mantra we can repeat as we answer the call to build solidarity and community with those who are most vulnerable. It's a pathway we walk, truly, as we answer the call to live our Unitarian Universalist values ever more deeply. It is a balancing point where we can stand as we extend compassion and support and caring and the work of protesting and calling our elected folks and our generosity. It's a place we can stand as we send forth our ever greater commitment. And if we do this, truly, anything is possible. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen. So I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit for hymn 354, We Laugh, We Cry. We cry, we live, we die. Our closing words were adapted from something written by Mark's and my colleague, the Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here? What is it that calls you onward, calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change? Ask that question. Take that journey. What is it that declares you have done well, that asks you to open up, to learn more? What is it that brings you to stillness and holds you up in hard times? It is the beating heart of our faith, relationship. Relationship, being together, journeying together, learning with and from one another. This, too, is the heart of democracy, calling us onward, always, alone and together, to do our part to create lasting peace, true equity, and real justice for all. Shalom, blessed be, my friends. Ashe and Amen.
So very quickly, I'm going to say what you already know. We're going to gather for coffee in the gathering room. In about quarter after, we'll ring the chimes. We'll come back and have a talk back with Reverend Suzelle.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to thank you so much for that message today. That was inspiring and wonderful. And I want to share with music that for me, I believe in democracy and freedom and love. And I think that our composers of music did the same thing. And when Chopin wrote this piece, it was a piece that he was writing for his country, for Poland, and for what they were fighting for at that time. And no matter what, I express that in my music. So I hope you enjoy this as my fight for freedom, democracy, and peace. And no